Oh, well, hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to
Okay,
meet you.
it won't be long. I just have a few questions about your books because I read both of them in like a month, in
Oh,
a
did
few
you?
weeks. I took a lot of notes in it. I like wrote down some stuff. I really, really enjoyed them. I wanted to say congratulations for the book because they're super addictive. I live with my boyfriend and I was telling him, "Don't talk to me. I need to finish it." It was really addictive. The chaos one was at the end. I was like, I couldn't put it down. Yeah. So yeah. So I'm really glad that you accepted this offer for an interview.
I so enjoyed writing those books, and I enjoyed Maria's character so much.
Yes.
I would love to keep her story going and tell the world more about Maria, you know?
Yes. I think I'm gonna start with. We're gonna do a bit of chronological story
Sure.
of your writing and how did you come up with these books.
Yes.
And you were an avid reader when you were younger, and I saw on your website too, you talk about that. Um, what was your interest? What books did you read, and what authors did you read when you were younger? And what captured your interest in reading?
Yes. So I grew up Amish, obviously. They
Mhm.
have no electricity or cell phones or computers. It's just work, 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 work all day long. And um, we were not even allowed to have fiction books in our house. We had just like the Bible and maybe a few books about American history or how to do farming and things like that. And then it's like an Amish newspaper, The Budget. It's called The Budget, that makes its rounds in every Amish home. And so we did that, but I just couldn't get my hands on fiction books. And even in the schools, the Amish very much controlled what literature made it into schools. But when you live in a world where everybody around you has uh, fiction books, you'll
Mhm.
find a way to sneak one in once in a while. And so maybe at 8 or 9 years old, I started getting my hands on a few books here and there. And
Okay.
if I got caught, they would disappear or get burned. And
Okay.
sometimes I would not finish the whole book because it would get taken away from me. And many years later, I remember the titles of some of these books. And many years later, after I left the community, I purchased the books just so I could find out what happened to the characters.
Okay. Wow.
Right. um, so I had a love for reading, but I think the main love for reading was we just worked so much every morning before the sun came up. I was milking cows and plowing fields all day long until after dark at night, my whole life from like 6 years old. And so reading gave me an escape from the hard work, and you
Hmm.
could just get lost in a different world. and
Hmm.
and so if you can imagine like growing up in a small proximity of maybe 5 or 6 miles in diameter, and you know most of the people in that proximity pretty well, but you step outside of that and it's a whole new world. You don't know anybody or anything.
Hmm.
I did not know that. So in the small community I grew up in, I did not know that that I thought that's a huge place, right? And then as I got older, 10, 12 years old, I discovered there's other towns outside of that. And
Okay.
then eventually I found out there are cities beyond that, like big cities, much bigger than
Hmm.
like 900 population,
Yes.
right? And then way down the road, I bet you I was almost 20 or 21 when I discovered that there's other countries outside of the United States, and there's
Okay.
oceans in between, and there's people with different skin color, and they talk different languages. And it was so fascinating and so mind-blowing to me. I just my father was born and raised Amish. He died of a heart attack at 48, and you could Google him and you would never find him anywhere. He's not in any database. He's not in a computer system. He's not in he doesn't exist. He never existed
Okay.
basically. And so I didn't want to do that. I wanted to know what's out there, and like Maria, I had to go find
Hmm.
out, right? And
Yes.
so finally, and I tried a couple times to leave the community, and finally at uh, 20 22, almost 23 years old, I finally left for good. And I tried several different occupations, but only an 8th grade education. You're kind of limited on what you can do, and which is how I ended up in trucking. And in trucking, you have so much time. You just sit there holding a steering wheel, and you're just driving all day, and you get so bored. You can only listen to music for so long, and then you listen to some podcasts, and then eventually, maybe in about the 2nd year of trucking, I turned to audiobooks, and I learned there's audiobooks. And you can go to your library and rent audiobooks 5 or 6 at a time and just listen to them while you're driving down the road. True. And I got so lost in audiobooks. Oh my goodness. It was just a whole new world. And I said, I can do this. Why can't I write? There's other people that write. Why can't I write? And if I am nothing else, I am determined. And I tell you, it takes a determined person to write a book from start to finish.
Oh, yes.
You have to have so much commitment. There are a million quadrillion times that you want to give up and be like, nobody's going to read it anyway. Why am I wasting all this time? I could be making money elsewhere. I could be spending more time with the family, with the children, with my kids and all that. But you just have the willpower. You just have the willpower to go back, and you just try again. And that chapter that's been kicking your butt for a month, you go back and you just dig into that thing and you try again, and then you try again. And of course, now you have social media, so you read all the motivational quotes. Well, shoot for the stars. If you don't reach the stars, you'll land somewhere down here, which is still better than, and all. And so you just, I love the whole process. And so, I made it through. I wrote 2 books and published 2 books. Probably pretty successfully. It was not a failure. And I was willing to continue writing the 3rd book and then the 4th book until I make enough money to get out of trucking. But you know something crazy happened. I finished the 2nd book and I started the 3rd book, and I was empty. I was so empty. I had nothing left to say. It was the weirdest thing. And it is so depressing, because when the last 5 or 6 years of your life have evolved in coming up with storyline and plot and characters, and all of a sudden one day you just sit down and everything you write feels fake and stupid, and nothing is working and there's no chemistry. I would have continued writing, but I was so empty, and I felt like maybe the first 2 books were almost like a therapy session for me to from my childhood. Like, I went through a lot of trauma as a child. Maybe it was like a therapy session to get my childhood out in the form of writing. And once I had it all out, maybe I was empty. Who knows?
But maybe sometimes it takes a step back to change our minds and do something else. And maybe when you're gonna start again, maybe you will have another message to say in your books. Because what was your intention when you started writing? What was your intention, the message you wanted to promote with these books? Did you have an intention in them?
Oh, yes, of course. I had tried for, I think maybe at 12 or 13 years old, I knew I could not be Amish anymore. And from that point, it took me another 10 years to finally leave. It was so hard. It's so hard, because you lose every friend you ever knew. You start over. You basically, everybody you knew for the first 22 years of your life, gone. Like, that door is closed and you have to start all over. And I had 12 brothers and sisters and maybe 200 first cousins. And I had taught school when I was Amish. So I had hundreds and maybe thousands of children that looked up to me as a third parent. And I had to close that door on all of that and start over. And so I was so miserable in the Amish community. And so when I left, my motivation when I was ready to start writing is, there are hundreds and thousands of children like me that are still in the community that don't have the strength to do what I did, and just they want to leave, but they can't leave because there's nobody there to guide them or help them. And so I hoped, my hope was that these books would find their way into the Amish communities, like me when I was Amish, and they would get their hands on them in between reading Bible stories. and read these books and be like, oh wow, if Mose Gingerich could do it, I can do it, right? I don't think that's happened.
No.
I don't think the books have found their way in.
Okay, but because in your book we see Maria going through a process of self-doubt and a desire for emancipation, and she questions, like you just said, some stuff she heard all her life, and now she questions a bit. That's the story where the character's main purpose in the storyline is to emancipate and found herself or true self. But do you believe her journey is a realistic reflection of what many people go through? Some people you worked with in real life after you left, or even your story, like you just said?
The question is basically, is Maria's character, the way I wrote her character, is that character authentic in the Amish
Exactly.
community?
Exactly.
Okay. So Maria's character, the way I wrote Maria's character is authentic in the struggles she goes through and the questions she faces, the community kind of ganging up on her when she doesn't fall exactly into line with their ideals of what an Amish community should be and what a church should be. So all those questions are authentic, and it's something that every Amish girl goes through. You just don't see it. They hide, they stay out of sight, they don't really voice their concerns. But the one that is maybe not as authentic is where Maria became stronger and worked her way through it and became a strong individual in the community and started this whole movement among the other youngie, as we call it, the youngie. She started this whole movement where the youngie kind of came along and like started looking up to her as a leader. And there's a couple other things I don't want to give away in the book, how far Maria's leadership actually went.
Yes.
I don't want to give it away, but that part would have never happened. You will never see an Amish woman be able to work her way that far up the chain of command within an Amish community.
Okay, and the people you worked with who came out of a group, like, were there girls you helped going once they were out, or mostly boys?
Maybe I tried to count several years ago, and I think maybe in the last 20 years, I think maybe there's been 50 or 60 former Amish that have lived with us in our house. And out of those, maybe 3 of them were girls. Maybe at the most 3 of them were girls. So yes, we have helped girls as well.
Okay.
And there's a whole new challenge when you have an Amish teenage girl that has been traumatized, and you're supposed to try to work your way through that. And of course, they're not so trusting always because of the things they've been through. And so, and I'm an adult male, so I have to try to gain their trust without overstepping. And in today's world, that's a touchy situation. But yes, we have taken them in and helped them. Maria's story is so parallel to my story. It took me, you would be shocked. I wanted my story to be another boy going through the journey. And Maria has a brother, Eli, and it was going to be him, an adventurous but shy kid, because I was very shy. I was very shy when I was Amish. I matured slowly. I remember when I was like, because we only went through 8th grade, and when I graduated 8th grade, I was still so young, or so small, and people thought I'm like 9 or 10, and they'd say, "No school today, Mose? Why are you not in school?" And of course, I'm out of school. But I was this very timid, shy Amish kid who was unhappy, and so I thought I would create that character in Eli Reeder, Maria's brother, and I kind of did. But very quickly I discovered Eli has no voice and he's not that compelling. And Maria was just a side note. And the first time I wrote about Maria, Eli's sister, she stood up, like in one of the first scenes, she stood up to the older women of the community and like just put her foot down and was like, "This is not how it's going to be. I'm going to do it this way." And so Maria turned into who Mose wished he was when he was
Okay.
Amish. Yeah, like Maria turned into this is what I wish I would have said. This is what I wish I could have stood on my own 2 feet like Maria did. So I basically rewrote Moses' life story in a fictitious manner, which I will never be that.
Okay.
I will never be like Maria was. But do I think that's an authentic journey in an Amish community? No. The things Maria went through, the traumatic experiences she went through, the preachers like just overwhelmingly pushing her and manipulating her and trying to force her to become a member of the church, all those things, yes, those are all true a thousand times. But to have a character like Maria who is able to work her way through that and become a strong person and stand up to the preachers and pretty much the entire community and just have a voice, that is not, that part does not happen.
Okay. Okay. I was wondering when I was reading, because I found her she had such a strong voice in the community, and I was wondering if that was realistic or not. But I understand what you mean when you switch a bit the character you wanted your story to be like to be at the beginning you wanted to be more like the Ellie story, but then you switch to Maria, a girl, so it's different from you, but still the questions were the same, the questions you asked yourself and herself in the book. So
Yes, the questions were the same, but Maria's strength was so much more than Moses' strength ever was when he was Amish. So, but I think Maria's storyline is a true depiction of what Amish teenage girls or boys go through.
okay.
But especially girls. Like I saw it all around me. I had sisters, and
Mhm.
where the boys will actually kind of get the benefit of the doubt on some of the mistakes they make. The girls, there's just no room for mistakes. Like a Maria reader, if she would have truly been an Amish character and she would have truly left the community, oh, it would have been almost impossible for her to go back. It is so rare for Amish girls to leave the community and then go back successfully and turn into Amish housewives and have many Amish babies successfully. I bet you for every 100 Amish males that leave, maybe one or maybe two Amish girls leave.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the life is much tougher for Amish women.
Okay. Well, in the book, we see a clash in the perspective of the people inside the community and the people outside, like the Bruce, the investigator. Their values are not the same, so it's hard for him to do his work when he's in the community, like we can see through the book. Do you feel like your book can help people who work with group and communities like that, to people who have transitioned out? Do you think your book is a resource for them to better understand what's going on inside a community?
Yes, so there was a multi-part to why I wrote in Bruce's character the way I did. It's very common for an outside person in law enforcement to run into issues like that with the Amish community, where there's a crime or a suspect of a crime, and he tries to work with the community, but they don't work with outside people. They don't care about the English, the outside law. They don't care about government. They don't care about politicians. And so anybody outside that, like Bruce, just has a really hard time working with trying to solve a crime or trying to bring justice to a system like theirs. And I wanted to show that, and I wanted to show the difficulties. I wanted to show authentically how difficult it can be for somebody on the outside to not really infiltrate, but kind of infiltrate a community when it's necessary like that. And that's why I wrote Bruce's character the way I did. I saw that happen many times. And believe it, there's some people locally that have read the books, and I have had local law enforcement reach out to me and ask me several times, can you help us? You seem like
Okay.
you know how to bridge this gap. Can you help us with this specific crime? And so it has kind of worked in that sense.
Yes. Yes, I really enjoyed it while reading it to see this and see that finally the community and and Bruce allied together at some point because they needed him at some point. So I really enjoyed seeing the two sides and the two worlds. We see a lot of. I love the way the chapters go from one to another, like one world to another, because we really see the difference too. And I'm glad that your sorry, my English is your work could help other people. I'm glad that you already see that and you
Sure.
are. So do you have plans, like you said earlier, you have plans for a sequel? So you want to,
Yes, for sure there will
okay,
be more books. For
okay.
sure. How soon though? Maybe you will have gray hair, maybe I will have gray hair. But there will be a time that there will be more books, like for sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Okay, well,
Okay, hey, thank you.